Hi everybody, it's the Soap Man and it's time to make some soap. But I'm doing something a little bit different today. You see, I just have two small containers. A viewer asked me on my last video how much lye and how much how much lye and how much water I used in my recipe. And of course, that's a little bit difficult to say. If she used the exact amount of each oil that I use, then I could tell her. But different oils have different saponification rates. They all take a different amount of lye, and that's why we have lye calculators today. So I decided, why not put up a video for new soapers to know how to use a lye calculator. And there are several out there. Two common ones are the Brambleberry Lye Calculator and the SoapCalc calculator. SoapCalc's a great calculator, but it is a little more advanced, a little more complex, and for a new soaper who has never done this, it could be quite intimidating. I always use Brambleberry. And I wish I had known about this years ago when I started soaping, because I knew nothing about it. And I watched a video of somebody who made soap, and she said if you use the exact amounts that I do, you don't have to use your calculator. I've done the work. So her soap was 100% lard, which is not the best for bathing because it makes a super hard bar with little to no lather and low cleansing properties. But I did it and made my first soap, and then I started learning. So, what I'm going to do while our lye and oils are cooling down is move over to the computer, show you how to use the Brambleberry lye calculator. It's extremely simple and extremely accurate. So let's move over to the computer and get started. Okay, so as mentioned, I prefer the Brambleberry lye calculator. So this is the Brambleberry homepage. Now, keep in mind, I'm recording this holding my phone in my hand. I don't have expensive recording equipment and software. I'm just doing this because a fan wanted to know how I do this, and it would have been nice when I was starting out if I had known about this. So on the Brambleberry homepage, up in the top right corner, lye calculator. And you're going to see just how truly easy it is to use this. And this is the only one I use. So where it says type, we're going to click solid because we're making a solid bar of soap. So that means cold process. That also works for hot process. I work in ounces. If you click in grams, click grams. I work in ounces. I like 5% superfat. So I'm going to click on 5. And what that means is 5% of the oils are going to be left in the soap, which is good for your skin. It also gives us just a little tiny bit of leeway to play with. Next is our ingredient list. This is where we put in the oils that we're going to be using. I'm going to use a very common and a very good and a very easy recipe. A very common recipe is 1/3 olive oil, 1/3 coconut oil, 1/3 palm oil. And you can get coconut oil and olive oil in just about any grocery store. Walmart has them, Kroger, Sam's, Walmart, Costco, any of the big stores have those on hand. Easy to find. Now, I don't want olive pomace. I want pure olive oil. I'm going to be making 15 ounces, so it'll be 5 ounces of each. So I'll put in 5 ounces here for the olive. I'm going to come down to the palm oil, put in 5 ounces. I'm going to come over to the coconut and put in 5. And that is our 15 ounces of oil. So come down to the bottom to the next button and click next, and it calculates everything. That's really how simple this is. That's the reason I like the Brambleberry one. And it tells us that we're going to need 2.18 ounces of lye and 4.88 ounces of water. Now, my scale will not register 2.18. I would round that up to 2.2, and I would round the water up to 4.9. That little tiny minuscule amount will not make a difference. And we'd also confirm that I have 5 ounces olive oil, 5 ounces palm oil, 5 ounces coconut oil. So there's our recipe. That's how truly simple this is. Now let's change this up a little bit. Let me go to another Brambleberry page, open up another window here. Let's try this again. 15 ounces of oil, but different amounts, and see what happens. So click on lye calculator. come down to the type. Once again, I want solid. That worked for cold process and hot process. I want ounces, and I want 5% superfat. Come on, open up. Not 6, 5. Okay, so here's our ingredient list. Let's say still using 15 ounces of oil. I want, instead of 5, I want 10 ounces of olive oil. And I want 2.5 palm oil, 2.5 coconut oil. That's still my 15 ounces of oil. But let's see what the recipe looks like. So at the top of the page, we have 2.07 lye, 4.62. So if I took that lye from that old recipe but used it with this amount of oils, I would have too much lye in there and I'd have a lye heavy soap. That's why I can't just tell you exactly how much lye I used unless you use the exact same amount of unless you use the exact same amount of oils every time. That's why it's so important, if you change a recipe, even just a little tiny bit, to always run it through a lye calculator. I just happen to prefer the brambleberry one because it's so simple. This is how you formulate a recipe. Now, let's put this into practice in the lab. See you in just a minute. Okay, so now we know how easy it is to calculate how much water and lye you need. Let's get to the fun part, making soap. I'm soaping at about 80 degrees, which is a really good temperature. So I'm going to slowly, carefully pour my lye water into my oils. Let's burp the stick blenders just so we don't have air trapped in the head. Give it a few quick pulses. And that's probably enough to get started. And I am going to have two colors, so I'll pour approximately half in there. Once again, close is good enough. And this is Brambleberry's Electric Bubblegum Colorants. And this is Nurture Soap's Activated Charcoal. And this is too much. I disperse this in oils so I don't have to do quite as much stick blending since this is such a small amount. This is Nurture Soap's Temptation, and I know that this is less than I need for this little amount. It's less than an ounce, so I can just safely pour the rest of this in straight from the bottle. Maybe just a real super quick hit. And that's it. Whoops. Just got a little ambitious on that one. Actually, I'm just not even going to touch that. I'm just going to let that be. So anyway, it's really truly that simple to use a lye calculator. These I'll let saponify into soap, and I'll use these in embeds for hot process. Probably next week I'm going to give this a squirt of alcohol so we don't get soda ash on top of that. And I'm just going to leave that just like it is to saponify. So I'll see you probably next week, in the middle of next week, to use these in some hot process.